If you're considering the Celestron PowerSeeker 70EQ telescope and want the real scoop before spending your hard-earned $180, you're in the right place. This entry-level telescope promises stunning views of the moon's craters, planets, and even the Orion Nebula. But here's what surprised me. It's not all stargazing magic. In fact, there are some frustrating hiccups that few reviewers mention up front. So, should you buy it? Or is there a better way to start your astronomy journey? Stay tuned because by the end, you'll know exactly whether this classic telescope is worth your money or if it's just a shot in the dark. Let me start by saying the PowerSeeker 70EQ isn't a bad telescope. In fact, Celestron is a trusted brand that's been around since 1960, and their products are often used by serious astronomers and even aboard the International Space Station. This model boasts a 17 refractor lens, which means it should gather enough light to reveal planets like Saturn and Jupiter, the moon's surface details, and some brighter deep sky objects. It comes loaded with two eyepieces 20mm and 4mm, and a 3x Barlow lens that triples magnification, which sounds fantastic for beginners. However, owning a telescope isn't just about specs and gear. The experience is just as important. That's where the PowerSeeker 70EQ starts showing cracks. First off, it uses a manual German equatorial mount with a slow-motion altitude rod, which sounds fancy, but for beginners, it can be overwhelming. Tracking celestial objects with this setup takes patience and practice. If you're expecting to quickly locate and track the moon or planets, this mount requires some astronomical skills, not something a complete novice might easily pick up. I once heard a joke that trying to find a specific star with this mount is like trying to thread a needle in the dark with gloves on. And sadly, it's kind of true. Now, the tripod and mount feel a bit on the budget side too, which means stability is sometimes an issue. There were moments when even the slightest touch made the view jittery. And when you're trying to observe delicate details like Jupiter's moons, that can be extremely frustrating. For someone buying their first telescope, shaky views can easily kill the excitement. Another downside is the lack of motorization. You're manually nudging and adjusting the telescope for everything, which might sound fine initially, but can quickly become tiring if your goal is extended stargazing sessions. Still, the optics themselves are decent for a 17 refractor. The views, when you do get the telescope properly aligned and stable, are crisp enough to see major lunar craters, the rings of Saturn just barely, and some brighter stars and nebulae on clear nights away from city lights. But beware, the magnification can become a double-edged sword. The 4mm eyepiece combined with the 3x Barlow lens means you're trying to push this little telescope beyond its sweet spot. At high magnifications, images become fuzzy and lose detail, not because of the telescope's optics, but because of atmospheric conditions and the limitations of the aperture size. And here's a question for you. If you buy a telescope to see stars, how do you feel when clouds roll in or when city lights drown out the view? The PowerSeeker doesn't help with that. It's still just a basic optical device with no light pollution filters or special features to combat urban skies. So if you live in a city, you might find yourself more frustrated than fascinated. By now you're probably wondering, who exactly is this telescope good for? If you're a family looking for a simple, affordable way to introduce kids to astronomy, the PowerSeeker 70EQ could work, provided you're patient and willing to learn the basics of celestial navigation. It's lightweight and portable, so you can pack it up for camping trips or backyard stargazing. But if you want an intuitive, plug-and-play experience that lets you sight planets and stars quickly without headaches, then this might not be the model for you. Another twist in the tale is the included Starry Night Basic Edition astronomy software. It's a nice bonus, providing access to over 36,000 celestial objects and sky maps, perfect for planning your sessions and learning the night sky. But don't expect it to be a magic fix for the PowerSeeker's manual nature. It's more like a guidebook than an autopilot. And speaking of the accessory tray that keeps eyepieces and lenses handy, great idea if your dog doesn't decide to take it on a moonlight chew session. Yes, one reviewer actually joked about losing a 4-eyepiece to a curious pet. Now for a quick laugh break. Why did the astronomer break up with the PowerSeeker? Because it couldn't keep up with their space needs. If only the tracking was as smooth as my jokes. But seriously, that slow-motion rod is a double-edged sword. It's designed for precise adjustments, but sometimes feels like twisting the handlebars of a tractor uphill. All right, let's talk assembly. Setting it up is relatively straightforward, but beginners may find the instructions a bit confusing with technical terms like declination and right ascension flying at them. You'll spend a fair chunk of time just figuring out the German equatorial mount and balancing the scope correctly. It's not impossible, but if you're someone who wants quick setup and instant gratification, this won't be your favorite part of the experience. Think of it like assembling IKEA furniture with missing screws. You get there eventually, but it's a patience tester. However, and this is where it gets interesting, once you master the basics, the 70EQ can actually be quite rewarding. There's an undeniable joy in pinpointing Saturn's rings or watching Jupiter's moons circle its planet, knowing you control the scope with your own hands. This hands-on approach appeals to hobbyists who want to learn the night sky deeply and aren't just in it for Instagram-worthy snapshots. But here's the catch. At this price point, you get a telescope that's solid enough to inspire but limited enough to encourage upgrading quickly. Many users find themselves buying better eyepieces or additional accessories within months. So if you're not ready to invest more time and money beyond the initial purchase, you could end up a bit disappointed in the long run. Here's a pet peeve shared by some PowerSeeker users. The stock eyepieces sometimes feel cheap and less sharp than expected. This isn't unusual for an entry-level kit, but it's a reminder that the glass quality matters. You might joke that boosting the power with the 3x Barlow lens is like putting reading glasses over binoculars. Sometimes it just magnifies the fuzziness. Also, remember that high magnification doesn't always mean better views. Aperture and stability are king. And speaking of king, let's not forget Celestron's legendary customer support. If you run into problems, their US-based experts are available. Plus, you get a 2-year warranty that covers defects and gives you some peace of mind. That's a big plus for first-time buyers worried about investing in a gadget they've never used before. So where does that leave you? If your goal is to dip your toes into astronomy, learn your way around the night sky, and enjoy occasional stargazing sessions without spending a fortune, the PowerSeeker 70EQ is a decent starting point. It offers real views of celestial wonders and the thrill of discovery, but it requires patience and a willingness to get familiar with manual adjustments. On the flip side, if you want quick setup, smoother tracking, or more impressive image quality, consider saving a bit more for a telescope with better mount stability or motorized features. There's a world of budget-friendly options out there with computerized mounts that do some of the hard work for you. Before I wrap up, here's one last astronomy joke for the road. Why don't aliens visit our solar system? Because they looked at the reviews of the PowerSeeker and decided to keep it moving. Okay, maybe they just heard the tracking takes patience. In conclusion, don't let the occasional frustration scare you away. The Celestron PowerSeeker 70EQ has helped thousands of beginners get their first taste of the cosmos, with decent optics and a legendary brand backing it. Yes, you may need to wrestle with the mount and learn manual tracking, but the payoff is the satisfaction of spotting planets and stars yourself. It's an honest, reliable telescope at an affordable price. If you want to buy the PowerSeeker 70EQ and start your astronomy adventure with a trustworthy setup, check out the link in the description below for the best price on Amazon. With free shipping and a solid warranty, it's a low-risk step toward exploring the night sky. Remember, every astronomer starts somewhere. For those ready to put in the effort, this telescope can be the perfect companion to your starlit journey. Don't forget to pack some patience, maybe a flashlight with a red filter and your curiosity. Clear skies await.